So, Andree, you
Yeah.
finished the book.
Yes, sir.
Whoa! Not many have accomplished that in their lives. In actual fact, I'm going to do a video asking because there's like 90 people that have bought the book, and
Yeah.
I want to know how many have finished it.
Yeah.
Or how many of them are using it for a doorstop or a potential lethal weapon to wield against burglars.
Yeah.
You see, if you put this book in a sock, you'll kill someone if you swung that around their head.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Yeah, put it in the pillowcase.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're starting at 571, and we're on chapter 25.
Yeah, yeah. The 24, it must be.
24,
Yeah.
right, chapter
Yeah.
24. Okay, and this is about we're talking about Jungian psychology, and we're
Yeah.
starting on the Jungian concept of the persona.
Yes. So it has already gone through like the collective unconscious. It has gone through like Jungian archetypes and so on. And then the persona comes in as well, which is the face we have up towards the world and so on. So I thought that was a good thing to start on because it's written here on that page. Jung labeled these archetypes the self, the persona, the shadow, and the anima and animus.
Yeah,
Um, and so I really did not underline anything on those pages more than I thought it was a good place to start at. You
yeah.
know,
Well, just to read it straight through.
yeah, just to get a little overview.
Yeah. Okay.
So the persona or mask is the outward face we present to the world. It conceals our authentic self, and Jung describes it as the conformity archetype. This is the public face or role a person presents to others as someone different from who they really are, like an actor. As Carl Jung explained, the persona is the aspect of our personality that we present to the world as a means of social adaptation and personal convenience. The term originated from the Greek word for the masks that ancient actors used to symbolizing our public role. You could think of the persona as the public relations representative of our ego, or the packaging that presents our ego to the outside world. A well adapted persona can significantly contribute to our social success as it mirrors our actual personality traits uh, and adapts to different social contexts. However, problems can arise when a person overly identifies with their persona, unable to differentiate between their professional role and their authentic self. An example would be a teacher who treats everyone as if they were their students, or someone who is overly authoritative outside their work environment. While this can be frustrating for others, it's more problematic for the individual as it can lead to an incomplete realization of their whole personality. The persona is shaped during childhood, driven by the need to conform to the expectation of parents, teachers, and peers. This usually results in the persona encompassing the more socially acceptable traits, while the less desirable ones become part of the shadow, another essential part of Jungian's personality theory.
Yes.
Yeah,
So this little excerpt here, it coincidentally, synchronistically, lines up with things I've been saying today in my videos.
I see.
Yeah, in that, we're all role playing. We're all in a
Yeah,
delusional state. We don't know what the self is. We've got no idea
yeah,
what the self is, how to find it, or even when we're getting close to find it, because it doesn't exist. It's a fiction, and so because the actual self, which is supposedly something real, doesn't exist, well, what else can we do save for create one or many? And so many people, they have personas for work, for leisure, for mother, for father, for friends, for children. They are forever um, uh, projecting a caricature of what they think they are expected to be. Now, can you imagine if the authentic people acted at work with their bosses in the bank or something like that, like they acted with their children? When we're with our children, we do all sorts of goofy things and we'll use silly voices and we'll clown around. But then when we go to the office, we have a completely different disposition and
yeah,
delivery of who and what we are, because we're
yeah,
constrained and controlled by expectation. So I'm saying in my videos, and lots of people find it quite shocking, that there's nothing here of any solidity or reality. It's all a contrived fiction. We are all movies. We're all acting on the stage of life.
yeah,
And so, like Jung said, it becomes a problem when we don't know where to draw the line, when we can't change out of our certain persona. The teacher being the ideal example. And I know when I was younger, when I was running one of my businesses, and I had 20 people working for me, and it was a lot of organizing and management. And I found over time that I was treating my wife and my sister like they were employees of mine, because they were at the time, but I couldn't turn it off when I went home.
mm,
Because they were still my employees, even though they were my sister, my wife first.
yeah,
The most powerful energy at the time was my business, our business, because it fed us all. It gave us all a livelihood, and quite a handsome one, and it became
yeah,
like an egregore, Andre.
mm,
Yeah. And I was embroiled into that power structure.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think a part of my not being able to detach myself from my boss persona was I think the major reason why my marriage broke down.
mm.
Yeah. So it's all very interesting stuff. Have you got any examples of carrying over a certain persona?
I know that I have had personas at work, really, just a certain persona to get by persona, you know?
Right. What to fit
So,
in? To fit in.
in a way, but I never fitted in anyway. So it became like an experiment, you know?
Right.
And that way I could also see how easy people were manipulated, you know?
Yeah, so
Because
you
you
were
just
pretending then,
needed,
you were acting, you were most
yeah,
certainly acting.
yes,
Yeah, so you knew that you was, donning a persona, a face in
yeah,
the jar. Paul
yeah,
McCartney, when he wrote Eleanor Rigby, he said that, when this old woman, opens the door, she puts on the face that she keeps in the jar by the door. A
mm,
persona. "Oh, hi," and then
yeah.
she goes back to whatever her miserable life was, or,
Mm.
or this sort of thing.
But it is really interesting because for me it was much of an experiment because I could see that people responded the same all the time every day. If I throw out something positive and did it in the same manner, they will get take the bite and they will be like that also, you
React
know.
in the same way.
Yeah, and after a while, I was thinking, well, this becomes like a Groundhog Day. You know, I
Yeah,
do the same all the time, but I'm the one that recognizes that. But the others don't seem to recognize that I did that yesterday as well. You know,
yeah,
similarly.
yeah, yeah. And so
So I I got a little like this, a little cynical about they being so easily beguiled. You know.
yeah. So can you imagine why I do some of the things I do,
Yeah.
having been doing what I've been doing for 15 years?
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm adopting many varying personas and facets and say many outlandish things just to see what makes people tick. What, how do you get a response out of the living dead? Because
Yeah.
that's what it always seems to me. If you've got like 300 views on a video and you've got like 4 comments, you've got to ask the question, who the fuck are these people? What
Yeah.
makes them tick when you're speaking about deep spiritual stuff, psychological stuff, whatever? It should elicit some sort of a response, but
Mm.
invariably it doesn't, because they don't want to step outside of their comfort zone. They don't
Yeah.
want to put a comment down because they don't want to draw attention to themselves. They don't want to say something wrong. They don't want someone to say, "Oh, you're an idiot" in the comments and all this sort of stuff. They don't want other people to see it. They don't want a record of what they've said or what they think in case their boss finds out. Oh, goodness me! Look at all this
Mm.
shit that we've got going on. But when you can speak as freely as I do, it's because you don't have no bosses, you don't have
Yeah.
no obligations, you don't have no constraints. And so
Mm.
I am an example and I exhibit my freedom,
Yeah.
as much as YouTube will allow me, of course.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, it is fascinating that.
Mm.
So, what's the next part you want to read, Andre?
Um, yeah. Then we come into this element of the shadow, jumping over the anima and the animus. It's an interesting and part and all that, but I underlined something here on the shadow instead. You know.
Yeah, because otherwise, we'd read the whole book. The whole book,
Yeah.
of course, is a fascinating enlightenment for anybody who takes it on and
Yeah.
is long in the tooth, learned and open-minded and reasonably intelligent.
Yeah.
Because there's a great deal of subject matter which people just don't experience in the everyday world.
Yeah.
And so you could take this into an office and you can
Yeah.
open it on any page, and the chances are nobody will know what the fuck you're talking about
Yeah.
because it's just not entered their paradigm, you see.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we
Strange,
live in
but
different
yeah.
worlds, don't we? We live in
Yeah,
very, very different
certainly,
worlds.
certainly.
You
Yeah.
see, you can read this book and then you could go to the bank, for instance, and you could mix with your colleagues and you could
Yeah.
think like, oh, I'm living in the same world as them, but only in your imagination because every
Yeah.
one of them are thinking very different. They're thinking different about you and are different about everybody else, and there's no general consensus on anything. So how can anybody conclude that they're living in the same world? It's a
Yeah.
fiction that, oh, this is the same office. It isn't even the same office because if you blindfolded 10 people in that office and said, okay, I want you to start in this corner and work around clockwise, describing this whole office, they would all get it very, very different. And the chances are not a single one would get it right. So what world are they living in, Andre?
Yeah.
These are the questions I ask.
Yeah. Yeah, they are living in the world that they have been brought up in, the information that they have taken to heart through different places and so on. It's
Yeah.
they have just not developed an interest in certain subjects. So it hasn't been like they have looked into it. Maybe some have had fear to even look in the slightest at certain things.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know what is delving in certain
yeah, but
people's minds.
that's about the esoteric thing. But what I'm saying is about the office. If you blindfold everybody in the office and give them a pencil and a paper, and uh, or if you just took them into a cubicle, right, so they couldn't see the office, and say, "Okay, here's a pencil and paper. You draw in the finest detail the office that you live in every single day or 5 days a week, week in, month out. You draw this office to your closest recollection of how it is in reality." And I'm telling you, there would barely be a single person which would get remotely close. They'd get the walls asked about face, they'd miss out windows, they'd probably know where the door is, but they wouldn't know about where the filing cabinets are, where the pictures are, this, that, and the other. Generally, they'd get it very, very wrong. And I say to people about your own home, I say, look, go get a pencil and paper and draw what you think the front of your house or apartment or building looks like. Draw it in the finest detail, then go outside and have a look to see if you are correct. Absolutely guaranteed you are a long way away from being correct.
Hmm.
People don't even know. They will walk in their door, Andree, for 10 years without even realizing how many panels are in the door and what size and shape they are and what variety
Hmm.
the handle is. They'll go, oh, oh, oh. And they'll say, it's a brass handle. It's a turning knob. And then you go outside and it's an aluminum turning one. And you go, how did you get that wrong? They never apply themselves to it because they
Hmm.
think they know, but their mind is telling them that they know, but they don't know.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's strange. Yeah.
Yes. So try it. When we finish this conversation, you pick up a pen and paper and you draw your building from outside. And then, if you think you've got that right, draw the neighbours' buildings. Try to get an idea of your house and a few houses next to you. See if you can even remember what colour the door is.
I do remember those stuff.
Right. Well, try it. Write it down, and then let me know. Next time how close you were and how many
Yeah.
things you got wrong.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, unless we consciously look at the outside of the building and we build it in our mind, we won't store that information. You see, if we go outside and we go, okay, what does my building look like? Right, it's X amount of feet tall, it's X amount of feet wide, it's got this color brick, this color window frames, double glazing plastic, it's got black plaster guttering, it's got this feature and that feature. Unless you do that, you'll walk past it every single day of your life without even knowing.
Hmm. I can say my windows are some pretty thick new windows right now. Before it was like a bit thinner. The handle is like I have it here, but I don't look at it. It's like a metal, and there's little plastic up on top of it, where there's one push button where you can push like this and then open up it. So I get a little bit how it is.
Yeah, well, you see, that is because that door handle is unusual. Because you have to press a button which operates a mechanism, which is it some childproof handle or something?
No, it's just uh, are just built like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's
I've never seen a handle where you have to press a button before you move the handle.
Yeah, on those it is like that, but a child wouldn't reach up there anyway. I mean,
Right. Hmm.
uh,
Okay, so
and
that's just
and the door handle is a silver handle like that. It's pretty smooth on the whole. It's not any uh, sides to it. It's more smooth handle.
right. And what metal is it made of?
Um, it's silver in a tune, so must be like iron or something less normal steel, like that,
Well, it wouldn't be iron. It would either be steel, stainless
Yeah,
steel, or it would be
yeah,
aluminum.
yeah. I think it stainless steel done. Yeah,
Right. So even now, you say you think
yeah,
because your knowledge doesn't go that far because you've never asked yourself what metal is that
yeah,
handle made of. You've
yeah,
never confirmed it with yourself, right? So
yeah,
look, you're a man. You're more practical than a woman. A woman would
yeah.
never ask herself these questions. She
Mm,
wouldn't look to see how many screws are there and
mm,
what shape the fixing is or anything like this. They'd just be too
mm.
busy thinking about their fannies, putting the key in the door, thinking about their old man putting their cock in their pussy, and turning it like going through all this Freudian stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. Freudian
The key and the
psychology.
lock.
Putting a letter through the letterbox is a sexual act. Putting a key into a keyhole is a sexual act. Entering a door is a sexual act. Anything that contains fallacies and openings, of course, it represents male and female genitalia.
Yeah.
And it does, he wasn't a fool. But Freud said about dreams that sometimes when you dream of a cigar, it's just a cigar. It's not a cock. You
And
know.
he was smoking a lot of
Oh yeah,
cigars.
he always used to be smoking it. You'd never see him without one.
Yeah.
He died of mouth cancer through smoking cigars all his life.
Yeah.
Um, okay, what's the next line you got there, buddy?
The next line is shadow elements often manifest when we project dislike the traits onto others, serving as mirrors to our disowned aspects. Engaging with our shadow can be challenging but crucial for a balanced personality.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that is an important part to really look into one's shadow. Even if I've done it so many times, I am very interested in doing that like that. See if I look upon a person a certain way, what of that consists within me, and so on.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, because look, if we don't know ourselves, so to speak, if we don't know our own psychology, then we're in no position whatsoever to judge or gauge anybody else. We're not even in any position to assume that we know what they are doing. Because we don't even know what we're doing ourselves. So, how could you say, I know what you're doing? You're doing this because of that, because of that. What are you, a fucking mind reader all of a sudden?
mm,
And you don't even know your own mind. But you see, when we know our own minds, and what we do is we project onto people because if somebody is acting deviously and we spot that they're acting deviously, it's obvious because we know how to act deviously.
yeah,
So that's why we know what they're doing because we do it ourselves. And that's the
yeah.
shadow aspect. That's recognizing our shadow.
We either still do it ourselves or we have recognized that we have done it in the past and thought to ourselves, that's not a very good way of doing this.
Yeah,
Uh, and then uh, if we don't hide that we ourselves has been like that in the past, then I think it's feasible to use that as a feedback to somebody or something like that as well. I have a friend. He has been fat. He has been overweight.
right.
And he is sad about fat people in general because he knows it himself that they are generally very lazy, you know.
Yeah, so
So
he's been there. He's been
yeah,
overweight. He's been lazy. He's lacked energy and all this
yeah,
sort of thing. And he now knows what it feels like not to be like that.
Yeah.
So he would have some sort of level of compassion, I suppose,
Yeah.
for other fat, lazy people.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll be less inclined to judge because he probably will be fat again one day because that seems
Mm.
to be his natural propensity. So
Mm.
likely he'll slip back into that. So we have to be very
Yeah.
careful about judging, don't we?
Yeah. Because yeah, also you built up the genetics within you by serving that thing within.
Yeah.
While he is very disciplined, so there's a big chance that he will not slip back again.
Right. Well, if he's very disciplined, how is it that he got fat in the first place?
Working, snorting cocaine, and laying on his sofa, and
Working in an office.
in a restaurant.
Okay, so right, and then he decided to change his ways into a more
Yeah,
conducive and healthy way of life.
yeah.
But you see, that's already in him, Andre.
Hmm.
Being lazy, slipping into abuse with cocaine, that's a road to ruin. That shit, amphetamine, it's a road to ruin.
Hmm. Hmm.
Makes you fucking paranoid and all different sorts of shit.
Yeah,
Fucks your mind up proper. So we have to ask, well, what was it about his personality which enabled him to do that?
yeah.
You know,
I
I
think he has changed vastly, vastly. You know,
right,
it's like there's two different people, you know,
uh
because
yeah,
I have another good friend of mine that has been into all kinds of drugs. Today, he's absolutely not that way.
yeah,
He's uh, changed altogether in such a way that it's not thinkable anymore because he's analyzed his previous setbacks so well, you know.
yeah. Yeah. So you remember from reading previous chapters that I had a spate of about 3 years where I was drinking heavily, womanizing heavily,
Yeah,
snorting cocaine heavily, staying
yeah,
up far too late, and all these different sorts of things because I got in with people who were very affluent. That's to say, wealthy, and I was wealthy at the time, and
yeah,
so we could have all the girls and cocaine and alcohol we wanted, and so we did,
yeah,
until it got so pathetically embarrassing for me and my mate, because we would end up going to the hospital for an AIDS test about every
yeah,
2 weeks. And then we'd be, phew, we've not got AIDS when we came out with a negative result. But,
yeah.
he and I, we were sleeping bareback with African women for
Yeah.
about 3 years, and neither of us even caught chlamydia.
Mm.
And these girls were bar girls, Andre. They were pay
Hmm.
girls. And so,
Yeah.
how's that? And I say in my book that the only time in my life of sleeping with, let's say, 300 women did I ever get a venereal disease. I caught chlamydia off a girl in
Mm.
my home city
Hmm.
who was supposed to be a good girl.
Yeah.
So all the bullshit they say about all the AIDS in Africa. Well, if it was true, me and my mate would have had it.
Yeah.
We never even caught chlamydia. So just bullshit, just
Yeah. It
bullshit.
seems to be like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm. I wonder. My father has also lived that kind of lifestyle, new girls all the time, and so on. I
yeah.
haven't heard he got an AIDS. You
Mm.
know.
And so uh, I would never say never, but it's highly unlikely that I would ever snort cocaine again.
Hmm.
There are um, well, if it was pure, but the
Hmm.
chance of getting it pure, I don't
From
know.
Colombia or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
you've got to really be in the know to be this far down the chain and get pure cocaine.
Yeah.
Who's going to give you pure cocaine? Where's it going to come from? Of course, it's
Yeah.
cut on every leg of the journey.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the business. So by the time you get it in a nightclub, it's like 5% cocaine and
Yeah.
95% fucking talcum powder and speed, some other amphetamine or something. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so that's you got more to say about the shadow, or
Um, there's always more to say about the shadow, but I can't come up with anything at the moment, you know.
yeah,
But just to go through it a little bit more, there is one might observe their irritations or their impulses towards something, how they react to certain things, and so on, to get to know one's shadow and so on. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that is also what I think about it. You know.
Yeah, introspection. We've
Yeah.
got to stop looking out all the time. Stop projecting all the time. Stop being afraid of what we are, to delve into ourselves. And this is why it's so important just to sit alone, go
Yeah.
walking alone in the forest, take psychedelics and
Yeah.
see what your higher self or your unconscious has to say about you, because it's going to
Yeah.
be speaking to you
Yes.
about you,
Yeah.
and it's going to be shaking you the fuck up. But most people, they don't want to go there. Far too
Be-
terrifying.
because that's the perfect tool used with psychedelics, looking at the shadow and so on.
Yeah.
And if you dare doing it, it's like it's not. It's much easier to actually do it on psychedelics.
Yes, it will. You can't not do it.
Yeah, because you will get it much worse if you don't do it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll read the next bit. It's titled "The Self."
Yeah.
Yeah. So finally, the self provides a sense of unity in experience. For Jung, the ultimate aim of every individual is to achieve a state of selfhood similar to self actualization. In this respect, Jung, like Erikson, is moving toward a more humanistic orientation. That was undoubtedly Jung's belief, and in his book, The Undiscovered Self, he argued that many of the problems of modern life are caused by man's progressive alienation from his instinctual foundation. One aspect of this is in his one aspect of this is his views on the significance of the anima and the animus. Jung argues that these archetypes are products of the collective experience of men and women living together. However, in modern Western civilization, men are discouraged from living their feminine side and women are discouraged from expressing masculine tendencies. Not anymore. You see, Jung was writing this. Jung died in about 1962. So Jung was writing just at the beginning of postmodernism, because
Yeah.
the postmodernists coming out of France, which were Jacques Derrida and Michel Foucault. They are the
Yeah.
most prominent postmodernists, and they started to break
Really.
everything down. And that's where we are now.
Yes, yes. They both Yaku come from Frankfurt School, I think.
The Frankfurt School, yeah,
Yeah,
and so
the 68 left leaning. Yeah,
yeah, very, very left leaning, and
yeah,
the whole. I mean, I'm very much a postmodernist in lots of respects myself, because I don't believe in anything. You see, the postmodernists believe that you can
yeah,
break everything down, so there is no right and wrong, because
yeah,
morals are just a human invention,
yeah,
and that they differ from culture to culture and from
yeah,
period to period. You see, and so how can there be an actual thing with a human being? They're not. They're an invention, and so but people like Jordan Peterson hate the postmodernists because he
Yeah.
needs structure in his life. He's very personigity. He's very anal retentive. Look how he dresses immaculately, and everything's immaculate. And the structure of his talks are so got to be immaculate. He can't stand disorder, and postmodernism is disorder.
Yes.
Postmodernism
Yes.
is chaos, basically, and that's how
It
the
is.
world is naturally. It is chaotic, but
Yeah.
we try to structure the world into some sort of order, and we're always fighting against it. And the beautiful thing about it now is that the dreaded postmodernists are getting more and more powerful. It's spreading so pervasively. More and more people are taking on postmodernism as an ideology, and they're breaking all these stupid rigid structures down, like man must be called man and woman must be called woman, and they must marry opposite sex, and this, that, and the other. Who said that? That's what I'm saying. Who said that? It's only people who want order that men can't be called women, because otherwise it gets confusing. But the world in its natural state is very confusing.
Yeah, everything is a pendulum between order and chaos. There
Yes.
comes a period of disorder and then or chaos, and then there comes a period of order. So it's a pendulum between the
Yeah,
two.
so we're
But
swinging away from it, and then we're swinging towards it, and then we're swinging away from it, and then we're swinging towards it. And so we will have moments of, equilibrium for short periods of time within
yeah,
culture before it goes out of sync again.
yeah, but also it is very deceitful, the kind of chaos. If people try to live their life, if you live towards a chaotic principle, then it will become very destructive in all shapes and forms.
Yeah, because
As
there's the
well as it could be very totalitarian if it was absolutely orderly, so to speak.
yes, and so therefore we have to have this fine line. But I think what's happened is with the postmodernist movement is that people have just been getting sick and tired of being told what they must do, what they must comply with, by so-called important people who they never met, they never knew, they don't know anything about. They've got statues of them all around the cities, lording it over them, and then you're supposed to go, oh, that was one of the American founding fathers, and he's a big wig, and whatever he says must go, and all this. Well, people are putting those down now, and they're going, that was then. Hey, buddy, that was then. This is now. You don't fucking own me. You're not ruling my life by the bullshit that you came up with 200 fucking years ago. So now it's kind of like I can grow my hair purple. I can call myself Sheila if I want to. Go fuck yourselves. And so I'm all for that level of freedom, outside of this restrictive, constrictive conformism. But as you say, there's limits to it. Otherwise, we won't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, because there's needs to be a consensus about things. I think that is also important. But if there's no consensus, at least you can have your own group where there is a consensus, and you can also see this falling, which we call Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, in Hindu
Yeah,
culture and so
yeah,
on. As something that needs to happen, because the ball is already rolling. There's no way of it getting stopped. So it's better that this chaos come falling down until there comes like Pax Triumphalis, or like a peace after the storm, so to
yeah,
speak, where we can start anew.
yes. So, I
Because
mean,
that is all the dark things that comes up from people's suppressed unconscious, so to speak.
yeah, yeah, they've got to come
Yeah,
out, because if they don't come out, then this shadow is massively destructive. So
yeah,
we have to release Barabbas. You see, I did a video the other day. I released everybody that I put in the snake pit.
yeah, I
And
see.
I said, I'm releasing Barabbas. Do you know who Barabbas was?
No.
Barabbas was the criminal, the murderer, and the robber that was released on the day at the beckoning of the marauding crowds when Jesus was in custody. Um, uh, who was it? Who was the oh goodness me? Who was the guy that Jesus spoke with? Who said, "I wash my hands. I can't find anything wrong with this man."
Don't know.
King Herod was the king over the region at the time, but then there was Roman Caesar at the time.
Pontus Pilatus. No. Pontus
No, no,
Pilatus. No.
yeah, Pontius Pilate. Pontius
Yeah.
Pilate. Pontius Pilate. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Pontius Pilate said, I can't find anything wrong with this dude. And so, who do you want me to release on the day? Because it was custom that they would release one criminal once a month or something like that, to appease the marauding mobs who the Romans were terrified of. And the option was releasing this murderer and rapist, no, not rapist, murderer and robber, Barabbas, or Jesus. And they all cried out, release Barabbas, apparently. So Pilate reluctantly released Barabbas and ordered the crucifixion of Jesus. And that's why he says, I wash my hands of this act. I don't want anything to do with it. It's your doing. You want it. And so he had to go along with the marauding masses and the Jews because they're always in fear of the Jews' insurrection. And so, therefore, the Jews killed Jesus. And that's why, one of the reasons the Jews don't have any allegiance for Jesus today. They're in the old school Orthodox Jewish ism, and Christianity was born then with the advent of Paul.
Yeah.
Um, so I release Barabbas. So if we don't release Barabbas, we've all got a Barabbas within ourselves.
Yeah.
If we don't release him into our judge and jury system, whereby we vet and we sentence or we release, if we don't do this, then what do? We keep our demons locked up forever. And
Yeah.
they're all scratching at the walls and screaming down in the dungeons. No, we've got to bring them to the surface. We have to entertain a court. We have to look at them. We have to judge them. We have to sympathize with them and have some level of compassion. And then out of that, we have to empty the dungeons of all our demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be honest about them. Even being able to say, like, I know I'm like that. That's a part of me, you know?
Well, you sentence yourself, don't you? You sentence yourself because look, if you have stole from lots of people in the past, and part of your shadow is a thief. If you don't
Yeah.
want to be like that, then you have to accept that you were a thief, but you don't
Yeah.
want to be a thief anymore. So what you do is you bring this facet, this character, this spirit, before the court, and you say, "Spirit, you are a thief and a liar." And a deceiver. And so I'm banishing you from the council of elders, let's say, if we are collectively a council of elders, because we have many spirits, we have many
Yeah.
people sitting in many seats with positions of power for different things. And
Yeah.
so some of them go rogue, some of them, politicians, they embezzle a lot of money and all this sort of thing. So you have to bring them before the council. And so you bring your shadow facets before the council and you judge them and you sentence them. And then you say, look, I'm sentencing you to being banished. So you're banished, no longer welcome in this council. And so hopefully you will keep the thief out. And then you will have a resolve within yourselves, and you can say to yourselves, well, I'm pretty pure now. I've chastised a facet of myself. I've exorcised a facet of myself. And now I believe it no longer to be a part of me. Are you with me on that, Andree?
Yeah. I often think about how I would apply it, you know?
Right.
what things are still within me,
Yeah. So,
uh,
for instance,
yeah,
look, if you have uh, done something deceitful,
yeah,
uh, whatever you've done, if you've stolen something or you've embezzled some figures, some money, or you've lied to friends and family, whatever it is, if you are a regular human being and not a sociopath or a psychopath, you're going to carry
yeah,
the weight of guilt. And
yeah,
so we don't want to carry guilt. So some people go to confessions and they promise never to do it again, which is a
mm,
form of addressing your shadow, you see. And I've got a whole section about
yeah.
confession in the book,
I
haven't I?
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's very, very
mm,
powerful. Then I
yeah, I
relate
think
it
so.
to a similar sort of thing with the shadow, because we,
Yeah,
we we can address our demons in lots of ways. We can have a Catholic exorcism. We can go and see a priest, and the priest can say, "Stand beside him, Satan," and all this stuff. Or we can casually go before a priest at confessions and promise never to do it again. Or we can confess to ourselves. It works equally well as long as you're sincere. Or we can
yeah,
confess to God direct.
yeah,
We can do many, many things. Or we can just take the psychological perspective and look at it like the shadow. But you see, it's so much more. I mean, the shadow is just a certain suggestion from Jung.
mm,
I would say that it's just one of our counsel, because when we get older, when we get wiser, and when we get more experienced, the counsel within us, the council of spirits, grows and grows and grows, and it becomes like a congress or a
yeah,
parliament. A
yeah,
parliament. A parliament means a convening of like-minded people, or people for a certain perspective. And owls, when they convene in groups, they're called a parliament. And so you
yeah,
look at that and you go, well, wow, why is an owl called? Why is an owl's meeting called a parliament? Because they're
yeah,
deemed to be super wise, and that's why the Illuminati use them, the Masons, and all that sort of thing. But
yeah,
yeah, the way I look at it is entities within us,
yeah,
and we can use the shadow as an expression, because anyone familiar with Jungian psychology knows about the shadow. But just to speak about spirits, you see, I've maintained for many, many years that we all have varying amounts of spirits,
yeah,
and the spirits play different roles. They're all personas that we take on board. And in the
yeah,
book, I talk about my mountaineering spirit,
yeah,
my dangerous living spirit,
yeah,
my fighting spirit, my warrior spirit, my lover spirit,
yeah,
my spirit for personal advancement, and lots of things. I've got a spirit for personal destruction and a spirit for personal advancement, and they have to have some sort of a compromise in the middle, or one has to vanquish the other. And now what's
yeah,
happened in my life, and now I'm older, wiser, and more mature, um, the personal advancement spirit has vanquished the one that was always destructive in a physical way. But there is still a spirit within me of a destructive nature, which is
yeah,
a mental destruction that I work with and I allow to be here because it serves me. Because when I destroy my greatness, okay, it makes me look more human, and it keeps so many people away from me. If I exhibited my greatness all the time and no failings, then people would flock after me like I'm some sort of messiah, you know?
yeah.
Because this is the nature of powerful orators, or impressionable people which can impress, other people. And I
Yeah,
have the
gurus and such and
Yes,
stuff in
I
India where there
certainly
were.
have the guru powers,
Yeah,
and the reason why I'm not a Sadhguru or a Muji or any of those, because I'm not a bullshitter. and
Yeah.
I'm not fucking interested in selling my soul for pound notes. Having people sit before me and only telling a fraction of my story or a fraction of the cosmic truth. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to say all, and it's going to hurt. And if you
Yeah.
don't want to listen, don't fucking watch my videos or
Yeah.
don't sit before my sandals. But if you're going to be successful, you can't tell them that. You can only tell them the good stuff.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Hmm.
So, all these things, there's so much to reckon with.
Yeah. Like things that I could have had, like are less admirable qualities, are like arrogance and um, like aggressiveness, but aggressiveness could be used positive but also in a bad way, but arrogance is a certain way of like uh, getting full of oneself in the hero or warrior archetype or something like that. That's the downside of that one.
Yeah, but lots of people use it to great effect.
Yeah.
Trump uses it to great effect.
Yeah.
There's been lots of people who are not self-effacing. People don't want to listen to self-effacing people all the time. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not that clever. Oh, I'm not that great. Oh no, oh no. They're always buckling under the pressure of the marauding fool. They're always bringing
Ah,
themselves down to their level. No, I'm never going to do that. I say openly,
yes,
I
yes.
am above the vast majority of you. That's why you're looking at me and I'm not looking at you.
Yeah, and that's fucking true also, Yeah,
Exactly.
that is what is interesting. It is true. So there is no reason for anyone to water themselves down if they really believe in that. Yeah, I actually have these qualities. Why should I uh, uh,
Why
not
should you
let them
deny them?
shine?
Why should you play them down just
Yeah,
because there's people in your audience which are going to hate you for being over and above what they
yeah,
are?
yeah.
I'll open the
Precisely,
window.
exactly.
It's getting hot in here. Yeah, so I say fuck it, and there's a market for everything,
Yeah.
um, and so yeah, I think that you see, in relation to Jesus, the part of Jesus that they wrote about in the New Testament is all the goody two shoes bits about Jesus. But you can read other things about Jesus from lots of other avenues. And you can see there's lots of things that are not favorable about Jesus. There's some people speaking about, him being a child trafficker, him being a paedophile, him consuming young boys' semen as an anecdote or antidote for snake venom and all different sorts of stuff. Yeah,
In the Bible.
no, not in the Bible. In
I
Greek,
thought so.
in Greek scripture. Um,
The older books.
yeah.
There's a couple of them. The Book of Enoch and such a
Oh
stuff.
no,
It
it's not.
was.
It's even outside of that. It's just about. You see, look, lots of people were writing a lot of things at that time, and
Yeah.
if you can imagine what's in the vaults of the Vatican,
Yeah.
2 million scrolls plus that they don't want anyone to see, and can you imagine all of the literature that the Catholic Church burnt, across the world on their conquistadors' fucking extravaganza? Well, you see, they've wanted. One God, one religion, and they've killed, burned, and drowned and hung, drawn, quarter hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people throughout the years. And so anybody that believes the outcome of that is an absolute fucking imbecile.
Mm.
To not to know that there has to have been a billion other perspectives about this stuff at that time, and oh, so sweetly cherry picked, not to offend anybody and to beguile people. No, well, people should read Anon Hillman. Anon Hillman. He's a philologist. He's been studying Greek literature for 30, 40 years. He's got 2 PhDs. He's a professor, you know, and you can find him on the Danny Jones podcast. So
Yeah.
Danny Jones podcast,
Yeah,
Ammon Hillman.
I've subscribed to that podcast now, but am not so much at YouTube nowadays.
Yeah.
I mostly sit by my table drinking coffee and reading a book
Right.
instead of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
because, well, I don't know. I have same as amount of time as you do, but I set
yeah,
aside like an hour's reading in the morning.
yeah,
Um, uh, and then I'll do, 6 hours YouTube in the evening time.
huh,
I'll do an hour's meditation, and all the rest of the stuff that I do on the day. So it's very important to read from the horse's mouth,
yeah,
ancient esoteric stuff, instead of listening to people, because they're only cherry picking.
yeah,
Because if you've got a book which is 700 pages long and you've got a video or podcast for 2 hours, well, there's only so much you can cover.
yeah,
And if you like a little bit of that, then you got to go back and read the fucking book and get the full picture. So that's what I do, and that's what I've been doing with the whole religion thing and everything. And
yeah,
you come upon people that have been speaking about Jesus from a whole different perspective, and even in Gnostic writings, Jesus is depicted, like a wizard who was casting spells and striking people dead by the magic that he could convey. And he had two discourses, one for the idiot in the street and the other one for the Gnostic fraternity, who they knew that you couldn't throw pearls before swine. You see, that's what his policy was: don't be throwing pearls before swine.
yeah,
um and so all this stuff. Anyway, I'm digressing. So I was reading this Self. So Jung argues that these archetypes are products of the collective experience of men and women living together. Then I said, oh, not these days, didn't I? However, in modern Western civilization, men are discouraged from living their feminine side and women are discouraged from living their masculine side. For Jung, the result
yeah,
was that the whole psychological development of both sexes was undermined. And so,
mm,
there he says, if they, you see, look, Jung is one of the most brilliant psychologists that ever lived. He said the psychology of men and women was undermined if they don't have a balance with their anima and the animus, with their
yeah.
female and masculine side, which we all possess.
Yeah, I have often tried to get this anima and animus into my mind because I see, okay, I present myself very masculine at the times, and I know I have had a phase in my life 10 years ago where I was more boyish, and
Yeah.
there's a sense of more feminine aspect within the boyish aspect, more playfulness, more
Yeah.
wind.
Well, I mean, for instance, we're Librans, right?
Yeah, you're a Libran.
Yeah. You're a Libra, yeah?
I am
Aries.
Aries. Yeah.
Aries, right. So, Libras, it is said that we can, for a Libra woman, she can wear the trousers as well as the skirt. So she can get out in the garden and dig the garden, and, she can do all this sort of thing, which most women don't want to do. And so they lend themselves either way because they keep very balanced because Libra is the scales. Now, with
Yeah.
my feminine side, I like a high level of comfort. I like everything to be just so comfortable, and there's very much a feminine touch in my house because there's so many plants. There's so many things that need tender, loving care, which isn't the general attribute of a man. They wouldn't
Mm.
do that. They couldn't be bothered. They're thinking more logical, rational. But no, I'm a balanced person. So I
Yeah.
have nature. I bring Mother Nature into my world, and I'm very in touch with my anima. Now, why? This
Yeah.
is really important. In the book, I write about it as a
Yeah.
major shifting part in my spiritual development. Because
Yeah.
when I had this supernatural encounter with the angels, the male angel never had, no, the female angel never had any wings. There were two angels. One was male and
Yeah.
one was female. The male had wings. The male was quite able to fly, being
Yeah.
a male in its whole entirety. The female couldn't fly. What did that indicate to me? I worked it out, having come upon Jungian's Anima and Animus. That that's what my dream meant. That's what that supernatural experience was. I need to get in touch with my animus, anima.
Yeah.
God damn it, my anima, because I was all macho, I was all testosterone, and that's what got me into most of my trouble because I was all business oriented and trying to make a $1 billion and all this sort of thing, and I was completely out of touch with half of me, which was, the tender part, the loving part, the compassionate part, you know, the woman part, the feminine part. And so it took years through the dark night of the soul before I nurtured my anima back into uh, growing her wings again. And it was only after about 10 years that my anima took flight. And now I'm a fully balanced person. And I've got no issues with expressing my femininity and all that sort of thing.
How did it feel in the beginning working on that part?
Well, I mean, I was very left brain. I was very logical, very alpha male, and I'd lost that soft touch and that compassion and the understanding for people and this and the other, and the self love. I got into a lot of self hate,
Mm.
and so I was only half of a being. And so I
Okay.
hid myself away from the world for 7 years. I became reclusive and I was punishing myself through endless studying, with my reading 12 hours a day, and learning to become a hypnotherapist, learning to meditate, then introducing myself to entheogens, which of course is punishing. Everything is a punishment until in the end you come out the other side,
Hmm.
um, uh, born
Yeah.
again. Born again. It's like, when you look online and you go to join spiritual fraternities or organizations, institutions, or this, that, the other, very often they'll use the emblem or sigil, or symbol of the chrysalis, because the chrysalis is the intermediary between what you were and what you want to be. And when you are seeking out religion or spiritualism or this that, and the other, the chances are you're in the chrysalis stage because you have become putrefied. You have imploded. You have just dissolved. Your ego is gone. You don't know what the fuck's going on. You don't know who and what you are. So you've gone back to the basic constituents of life. And from that, the chrysalis then has to build back again the caterpillar. And then the
Yeah.
caterpillar, no, sorry, the butterfly. And then the
Yeah.
butterfly bursts open from the chrysalis and it takes flight. And then it's a new entity, it's a new being, it's a new lease of life. So, and then, of course, it's very, very emancipating, and you're free, and you've freed all the shit, Andree. You don't carry
Yeah.
no more shit anymore.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You see, when people watch my video and they see that I'm really having a go at people, and they may think like, "Oh, why is he so angry?" or "Why is he beating up on us?" and "Why is he doing this?" and "Why is he doing that?" Well, it's just a style that I've adopted because the Mujis, the Sadhgurus, and the Eckhart Tolles isn't my bag. The Rupish Spira, they make me want to vomit because they are only displaying half of what we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're only displaying the butterfly. Oh, you can fly and you can love and you can enjoy. Well, what about the shit? What about the hell that we go through? Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
That's what I want Muji to talk about. That's what I want Sadhguru to talk about. That's what I want Eckhart Tolle to delve more deeply into. That's what I want Rupert Spira, the fucking makes me want to vomit. That dude does. Good God, they can't get real, Andree. They can't
Yeah.
fucking get real.
Yeah. Did they? You don't know until you see them in a certain situation, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I don't think they know it. They don't know it. They've never been there. Unless
No.
you've been to hell and back, you could never talk about it. They've not been to hell and back. They simply haven't. Maybe they've had an out of body experience. They've done, a few entheogens. Eckhart Tolle was about to kill himself when one morning they just woke up and all the darkness is miraculously gone. So he knows what it's like to be in hell, but he
Yeah.
hasn't spoken about the dark night of the soul. He hasn't spoken about years and years and years of abject, this enchantedness with life and this, that, and the other. He just sells. He just speaks about what sells to the Muppets sitting before him.
Yeah.
And it's not real. It's not true.
Hmm. I think all those people might serve a purpose, and especially I think Eckhart Tolle had served a good purpose for me in life as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved his
because
book.
it's
He's
all
just,
about the present
yeah,
and so on.
it's good, but it's only half the story, Andree. It's only
Yeah,
half.
of course. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's my bone of contention with all these people. So what I do is I enter into a caricature to overly compensate for the whole fucking world because
yeah,
nobody's doing what I do.
yeah,
Show me the guru that's doing what I do.
yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
isn't anyone. There isn't anyone. And that's why my videos will never be popular because they're too close to the bone. And like Carl Jung always used to say, the last thing on the world the vast majority of people will ever want to look at is their shadow. And that's
Yeah.
why Jung, to most people, is still fucking unheard of. They've all heard of Freud, but when you say about, well, who's the best psychologist the planet ever had, they wouldn't know Jung. Only if
Mm.
you get into the esoteric do you know Jung, because
Yeah.
he's too out there for them.
I feel like a good chunk of people know Young as well when I
Well,
talk to
look,
people.
you may think they do because you're in this fraternity of esotericism, but
Yeah,
outside of the esoteric, who fucking knows Jung? It's
yeah,
esoteric. And so we have to be very careful that when we're watching videos, our algorithm is feeding us all these people that talk about young, because
Yeah.
that's what the algorithm knows we like. But if you give your computer to your mother or your dad, they'll go, "What the fuck is all this shit on your computer? It's devil worshipping, and it's all this." They wouldn't understand it. They would have never
That
heard of
that
it.
that I know. That I know. I'm pretty sure none of my like cousins or anything like that will know anything about Freud or Carl Jung or anything like that.
Exactly.
But
I once met someone from Carl Jung was Swiss.
yeah,
So he's from Switzerland, yeah. So I once met someone. Well, I met several because I used to teach scuba diving, in Greece, and so we get people come from Scandinavia up north and that. And every time I'd get someone from Switzerland, I'd say, "Oh, so you're from the land of Carl Jung," and they'd go, "Who?" And I'd say, "Carl Jung, the most eminent psychiatrist." He was a psychiatrist, you see. He started out in
yeah.
psychiatry. The most eminent psychologist on the planet. Never heard of him.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's shocking. So no, I mean, we have to be careful what we think other people know,
Yeah.
because uh, what we are being fed, Andre, is a very, very select variety of stuff.
Yeah. But I think some people that I like talk to, I know that it's the algorithm on YouTube and so on also, and I certainly know that none of my relatives know anything about that. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
some
but
few
granted,
I meet.
these days, Young has, become quite prolific, because
Yeah,
anybody that, is delving into this esoteric stuff,
yeah,
will get Young in their feed. They just will, because
yeah,
he was into the mythological and the alchemical and the psychological and the philosophical and the mystical and all this stuff. So you're going to get Young at some stage.
yeah,
Yeah. So let me finish off this bit. Together with the prevailing patriarchal culture of Western civilization, this has led to the devaluation of the feminine qualities altogether. And the predominance of the persona, the mask, has elevated in sincerity in a way of life which goes unquestioned by millions in their everyday life. Um, so this whole, like, be a man, this sort of thing. Well, there's a time and a place for being a man.
yeah,
Are you
absolutely.
going to be a man with your children? Are you going to
Yeah,
be a man with your 90-year-old mother? You're going to be a nurse, or you're going to be a carer, or you're going to be, a good Samaritan, or this sort of thing. The last thing you're going to be is a man.
yeah, but it's still somebody with principles and a straight back, you know.
Yeah, but you don't need principles and a straight back when you're nursing your 90-year-old mother. You
Yeah,
need your feminine touch. You need your
maybe
anima.
maybe as a protector you need to be a man, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But what I'm saying is, when you're in your dying mother's bedroom, and you're nursing her brow, or
yeah,
maybe you're wiping her shit and changing her nappy, which some people do, family members. Um, you know, Ram Dass, Richard Alpert, he nursed his dying father like this for many years, bathing
mm,
him, changing his fucking nappy, and all that sort of stuff. And so, people do it. And so, what I'm saying is, we can't assume that Ram Dass was thinking about being a man when he's doing all this stuff. No,
mm,
he wasn't. And
no,
you may think, oh well, it still needs to be a man to protect his father from wild bears. Oh, come on, let's get real. Let's get real. There's lots of times where we don't need to be a man. We can
yeah,
completely forget that we're men. Because it's not a utility that is required.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
you don't seem convinced.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I also need to get into certain perspective at the times, you know,
Yeah.
because um, some good times it's good to have the feminine parts in balance, even in social occasions and so on, you know.
Yeah.
Because if you're all blown out masculine all the time, some people might become fearful of you and so on, you
Yeah,
know.
it's
And
just a show. It's a show, isn't
yeah,
it? Why do we need to act like men? If we are men, we're fucking men, and everyone
yeah,
can see you're a man. Why do you need to act like one? Why do you need, to tell dirty jokes and, talk about macho things? Why can't you
yeah.
talk about you woke up crying one night because you dreamt that one of your children died? Why can't you talk about that, man? That's being a fucking man.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I see.
Okay, you read the next line, mate.
Yeah, we come to psychological types now, so I jump right into this cognitive
What page you on?
function on page 575.
Right. Okay,
This,
psychological types.
yeah. So these cognitive functions can be expressed primarily in an introverted or extroverted form. Let's delve deeper. One, thinking, T,
Let, let's
versus,
let's just you see the introduction to this page you've omitted. So let me just read that.
yeah, yeah,
Psychological types, and then it says Carl Jung's psychological types theory suggests that people experience the world using four principal psychological functions: sensation, intuition, feeling, and thinking, and that one of these functions is dominant for a person most of the time. And then it goes one.
yeah. One, thinking, T, versus feeling, F. This dichotomy is about how people make decisions. Thinking, individuals make decisions based on logic and objective considerations, while feeling, individuals make decisions based on subjective and personal values. Two, sensing, S, versus intuition, N. This dichotomy concerns how people perceive or gather information. Sensing individuals focus on present realities, tangible facts, and details. They are practical and literal thinkers. Intuitive individuals focus on possibilities, interconnections, and future potential. They are often abstract and theoretical thinkers.
Now, all this stuff has been hijacked by neuro linguistic programming people
Yeah,
and people that want to try to find your personality type, and they want to put you into a category and pigeonhole you and all this sort of thing. It's completely impossible to do that. And when people suggest that that person's an introvert, meaning that they're all shy and timid and this, that, and the other. Well, that's not what Jung was meaning when he was speaking about introversion and extroversion. He was saying that the main essence of your spirit is an introverted thing. It's all happening inside. You're contemplative. You're a feeling sort of person, and your world is all being analysed and experienced inside. Whereas an extrovert, they're out and about, maybe they're doing all this, and they may appear to be all chatty and everything, and it's more like connection with other people and this, that, and the other. And so it's kind of like all the friends they've got and all the fun they're having and this, that, and the other. And so but I'm both of those things. I'm
yeah,
very, or I was when I was younger. I was very extroverted, but then a very deep and profound thinker who needed to have a lot of time on my own. And
yeah.
so, I would slip into both. And so,
Same here, yeah.
yeah, and so it just goes to show that these things that they're just only a very, very broad illustration of some of the facets of what human beings are, not to be taken too seriously.
Yeah.
So we'll skip over that bit now because
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Uh, let's see.
What page you on now?
On page 583.
583.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good because I just want to read what's on 582.
Yeah.
Amalgamating out of body experiences and archetypes. You got that?
Amalgamating out of. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So, as an instantiation to what I'm alluding to, we can use out of body experience. Let us ask which field of study we would turn to for help in understanding the root of out of body experiences. Science is almost non existent on this subject, so we would need to go further in the field to find an arena sympathetic to the variety of phenomena, to this variety of phenomena. Would we find any answers from studying theosophy, spirituality, or religion? Or would we need to look to psychology or mythology to shed some light on these paranormal occurrences? I'm speaking about how do we find the root of an OBE? What is it? In my experience, having studied all of the above, I can assert that they were all useful in some way. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Aca Hermes Trismegistus, tell stories about leaving the body and travelling to other worlds, but that is ancient mythology. Can we trust it? The Egyptian and Tibetan books of the dead speak at length about the afterlife, but that could be hearsay and religious belief. Can we trust those sources? The Bible even mentions certain people having out of body experiences, and some believe those scriptures to be the word of God. Can we trust those accounts? People taking high doses of entheogens visit other worlds via their astral ethereal bodies and tell remarkable similar stories when they return. How can we quantify those stories unless we experience something similar for ourselves? We can't and shouldn't trust the words of others because that wouldn't give us knowledge. To gain fundamental understanding, we need to experience. So, if we want to know the truth regarding this phenomenon, we must either we must enter whatever region will give us the required expertise. For myself, I did all of the reading to learn as much as I possibly could before launching into the supernatural realm myself, which I have spoken about at length in previous chapters. And now, for me, I know the phenomenon of the outer body experience, as well as the efficacy of archetypal beings to exist in some dissociated state of consciousness or vibratory paradigm. So I no longer have to speculate, believe, or dismiss. I know. Personal experience is compelling in creating our reality as opposed to walking through life holding comfortable beliefs and dismissing these phenomena as fantasy. It may be that many readers do believe in these phenomena, but that is no more enlightening or spiritually advancing than simply believing in God. If we want to know, then we have to go that extra mile along the journey of discovery. What else can we actually know concerning the supernatural via our experience? So I'm saying here, look, anybody that dismisses this, that, and the other because they don't believe it, they're just being fools. They're being ignorant fools. What we should always do is bear in mind the level of our experience, and if someone presents us with something that we consider outlandish, we have to consider, well, I haven't personally had that experience, and I don't know much about it. I need
Yeah.
to read a great deal about it, and then once I've learned the procedure and what to expect, maybe I'll want to induce that myself in my body. I.e., you learn to meditate, i.e., you learn to hypnotize people, i.e., you learn about your own psychology, i.e., you take entheogens, i.e., you learn to leave the body, through the OBE. And so, if we apply this to all things in life, then we can speak with authority. instead of, and this is what I'm saying about these people, these gurus. They don't speak with authority, Andree. They just speak about they've read some bullshit from some books because they're not convincing me. And they don't have any personal stories to convince me. Whereas me, I can speak to you for hours and hours and hours on end of all my personal experience, which constitute my convictions in life, because my experience is then married up to my knowledge. And so I can say that I know as much as the next man, or more than the next man. I actually can say I know. And when Jung was asked, do you believe in God? He says, no, I know
Yeah.
God. Yeah. That's the difference. And so when I'm speaking to all of these bullshit fake Christians clutching their Bibles and rushing to Bible study and this, that, and the other, like a bunch of fucking fools, and I would say to them, what experience have you had of the supernatural? What experience do you have of Jesus, God, or angels, or the devil? And none of them could give me any instantiations. And I went, well, I don't believe in the Bible or Jesus or Yahweh or any of that. And yet I can reel off story after story after story of my personal experience of encountering these entities. So why is it they visited me and not you when you believe in them? What's going on there?
Mm-hmm.
So I can come over as arrogant, and I embrace my arrogance because it's substantiated.
Yeah.
It's embedded in concrete. It's embedded on a huge cornerstone, which is immovable.
Okay. So what is going on there is they have had beliefs maybe since they were brought up that way, or maybe they have gone to those beliefs as a boat of safety when they were in a crisis. And
Exactly. The
yeah,
people I met, they were in a crisis, Andree. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They're all in a crisis. Their family had abandoned them. They've got no friends. They got to try to get their lives back together somehow. And so that's when people reach out for religion. And it's unsubstantiated, because if it doesn't come with a religious experience or spiritual experience, then it just comes through the portal of belief. If people tell you that embracing Jesus is going to increase the value of your life, then it's a belief, and so then that manifests into faith. But I never had any of that. I had spiritual, religious experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just a vast difference. I was speaking to several preachers at a certain stage in my life, and one of them, only one of them, had a valid reason as to why he joined the clergy. And I told him that I'd like to come to speak to him about the supernatural and things like that. Why, he is a believer and this and the other, and he welcomed me, and so I went to see him on many occasions. And I told him my supernatural experiences, and he told me his. He said, what happened with him is when he was about, I don't know, 12 years old, his father left their home, separated from his mother. His mother got a new boyfriend, and as soon as this man entered into the house, there was a demon which came with him. And this demon used to manifest very, very often in the middle of the night, like an
Mm.
astral being. And I said, was it an astral being? Were you out of the body? He says, no, there was something physical, demonic in my room. But then he said when
Mm.
he got to about 15, 16, it went away and he's never seen it since. And so he got to thinking about the spiritual realm and all this different sort of stuff. And then one day he was at a Christian concert and singing the songs and everything, and he just got a wave of ecstasy come over him, and he broke down and he became a born again Christian. And so I go, that's valid. Okay, that's a legitimate religious experience. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But people that just got this fake bullshit faith, which isn't substantiated by anything except their hope, then
Mm.
that's a crock of shit.
Mm.
So what be you on now, Andre?
On page 583.
Right. How can we
Um,
know for ourselves that the Akashic records exist?
through our intuitive mind, through meditations and so on, the downloads one can get from that and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So without reading this, we'll just off the top of your head, just speak about what the Akashic records are.
Yeah, you have woven it together with collective unconscious and so on as well. Yeah? And it is a net that exists, that is intangible, that's all around us. The information that everything that has been is stored in that record, and we can tap into it like a net, like
Well,
similar to what is Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance, but that's another thing. But it goes
yes,
together in a way.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So with the Akasha and morphic resonance and the collective conscious and the collective unconscious. Now,
yeah,
uh, the Hindus, I think they coined this Akasha, and they stated that this information is in the ether.
yeah,
It's all around us. But you see, they were coming from a perspective whereby they weren't considering the cosmos to be conscious.
mm,
You see, we've got information all around us. It's in Wi-Fi, and it's transmitted from antennae and from huge computers and this, that, and the other, and satellites. And so we can see how that manifests. And most of us are familiar with a little bit of the science involved with that. But so thousands of years ago, they reckoned that all the information that anyone could ever know was out there in the ether, and that
yeah,
somehow some of us could tap into it. So Rupert Sheldrake speaks about his morphic resonance, which animals tap into, and probably all life. They tap into information fields with their antennae, whatever it is. They're tuned into it, and they can get the information via that. But Carl Jung, on the other hand, he would say, well, as far as he's concerned, all knowledge pertains to human unconscious, because everything any human has ever known is within the collective unconscious, because it's been passed on genetically, and
yeah,
somehow deep down we all know all of this stuff because it's written in our genes, you see.
yeah,
But it's only when we are very, very finely tuned into this that we can retrieve it. How do we get finely tuned? How do we get finely tuned to receive information from the Akasha, which I'm saying isn't out there? It's in here because it's all consciousness. The cosmos is conscious, so all information is in the cosmos, and we're in the cosmos, so it's just around us. It's like Wi-Fi, so we can tap into it. How do we do that? We do it by reducing the chaotic mind of the everyday ego, and we enter into a deep meditation. That's when our antennae become very, very highly tuned into the natural vibration of this cosmos, which is 7.8 hertz, the Schumann resonance. And so when that's the
yeah,
natural resonance of the cosmos. So when we get really low down into the theta realm, then we are vibrating at that same level. And that's when we can talk to the Akasha. We can talk to the ether. We can talk to the collective unconscious or the collective consciousness. So how do people do remote viewing? Because they're tapping into something. How do
yeah,
people get psychic visions or telepathy? Because they're tapping into something. What is it they're tapping into? They're tapping into consciousness, which is all around us. And if we accept that we aren't conscious, it is conscious. Everything is within consciousness, like being dreamt in the mind of God. You see, look, there's no difference between the mini you, which is the homunculus, You are asleep and you're dreaming of your avatar, of yourself, and you're fucking or you're fighting, well, they're just manifestations of consciousness, aren't they? So what I'm saying is that everything in this dimension is a manifestation of consciousness in the mind of God, in a dream of God. Because
Yeah.
in dreams, you can be autonomous, or not. You can be doing things that you don't even want to do. Other people are doing things that you don't want them to do. You ask yourself, hang on, this is my fucking dream. How come I've got people trying to kill me in my fucking dream? Because you're not in control of the dream world. You're not in control of consciousness en masse. That's why we can't control other people. You see,
Mm.
it's the same thing, Andre.
Yeah.
Sometimes in your dream, you become lucid and you can manipulate things and you can do what you want to do and you can get other people doing what you want to do,
Yeah.
by manipulating them or whatever. But most of the time, you're running away from people trying to do stuff to you that you don't want them to.
Mm.
So, can you see the simile what I'm trying to get to there? Inside each and every one of our minds is just a small replication of what's going on in the cosmos.
Yeah. Yeah. But one needs to find those details also to see that reflection within without, you know.
What details?
uh, like okay, I see this outside of me. How is that what is the representation within me, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
But you see, when you dream, and you
Yeah.
can imagine all different sorts of stuff, angels and demons and all that, yeah?
Yeah.
And they'll manifest as entities in your consciousness.
Yeah.
And they'll seem absolutely real, yeah?
Yeah.
And you'll fight with them and you'll fuck with them, yeah?
Yeah.
So where's the difference to everyday life?
Maybe not much difference really. It's more about the interpretations and so on, you know.
It's more complex because it's more
Yeah.
varied.
Yeah.
There's more depth to it. Whereas
Yeah.
when we're dreaming like this, and we're in this little, mini consciousness. We're in the mini consciousness. But when we wake up, we're in the bigger consciousness.
Yeah.
Because it's like Russian dolls. Dreams within dreams within dreams within dreams, like Inception. You know the movie Inception.
I don't think I've seen it, you know.
Oh wow! That's Leonardo DiCaprio, and
Mm.
they are delving into dreams, and they're trying to manipulate people through the dreams. They're trying to go enter other people's dreams and manipulate them,
Mm.
so we can enter other people's dreams and become lucid, and become a character in someone's dream.
I see.
Yeah, fucking, you want to watch that film?
Yeah, I watch very little movies. You know,
Yeah.
there's one movie I watch often, or like a couple of times a year. It's Fight Club.
Right. Well, look, if you watch very, very few movies and if you watch very little internet, you should be
Yeah.
reading at least one fucking decent sized book every single week.
Mm.
Because, the average book, let's say it's got 250 pages, and
Yeah.
you can read, say, like, easily 50 pages in one day,
Yeah.
with an hour or two. And so you should be able to get through loads of books. So, how many books are
Mhm.
you actually, in actual fact, reading?
Right now, I have just ended your book and jumped to the book I read before, which is only one book because I just want to read one book at a time at the moment. You know.
Yeah. So
Uh, so uh,
how many hours a day do you spend reading?
uh, at least 1 hour, 2 hour, you know, sometimes more, sometimes less,
Right.
3 hours. Today I sat read with a friend. I read together with him. Then maybe we read it together 2 hours, you know. So get those different timelines together. I'm not very good at calculating how long time I sit with something. If I
Yeah.
say I sit with my guitar an hour, it could have gone 2 hours, really, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, from what you're saying, it's kind of like you will study for 2 hours a day.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So, what do you do with the rest of the hours?
I am outside. I walk. I am at the gym. I walk down to the water, take a cold bath. I sit still. I meditate a little bit, and sometimes I meditate more. Nowadays, not so much like before, you know.
So
And
you're actually enjoying the human experience.
yeah, yeah. And I do breath work and so on, you know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see how long I do everything because I know sometimes I read maybe for 3 4 hours. You know,
Mm.
it's so shifting, you know.
Yeah.
But I recognize that I don't want to read too many books at the same time because it doesn't get too orderly in the mind then, you know.
Yeah, one of the viewers was saying that she's reading my book. She started to read my book and 6 other books, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"You got ADHD or what? How can you follow 6 books? The most, I mean, I have ever done is kind of like 3 books.
Yeah.
If I'm reading something which is dense, then I want to change from it. So I'll read another subject, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but so invariably, I can have 2 books on the go.
Yeah.
But I have needed to concentrate on these, these huge voluminous books because otherwise it would take forever to read them. So I've just read one volume. Let me just get the one I'm on now. So this is the second half of the one I've just finished. This is volume
Yeah.
two. And the incredible array of subject matter, the beginning of the cosmos, and how entities are formed, and how the human soul developed, and fucking hell,
Yeah.
what isn't in here. And if I just opened it. Let's see the content. It's got Nazarians, Ophites, and modern Druses, Egyptology, Hermetic Brothers of Egypt, true meaning of Nirvana, the Jaina sect, Christians, the Gnostics and their detractors, Buddha, Jesus, and Apollonius of Tyana, decisions of Nicene Council, how arrived at, murder of Hypatia, origin of fish symbol of Vishnu, Kabbalistic doctrine of cosmology. Fucking hell, it's deep stuff. But so
Yeah.
to have a break from that, I'll read the sequel, which was another double volume, or sometimes
Yeah.
it's a triple volume. This is the Secret Doctrine, and in the Secret Doctrine, I'm cherry picking from this one. I'm reading all the way through that one, but I'm cherry picking from this one before I read it all again. And there's little bits like. Uh, Man, the pale shadow of God. I thought, okay, I'm going to read that one. Satanic myths. Mahasura and Satan, the mysteries among Mayas, the curse of Vishata, from worm to man, identity of human and animal embryos, the natural form, symbolism of Kronos, the hairy men of China, the separation of sexes, primeval language, the sin of the mindless men. This sort of stuff takes you
Mhm.
into a very, very deep realm of all this stuff. And so when you've read and, you've listened to lots of people speaking about this, when, fools start talking to you about Jesus, you just go, oh, fucking hell. You
Mhm.
don't know you're born. You don't know you're
Mhm.
fucking born. And that's it. But that's the opiate for the masses, you see.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for the exoteric. That's what everybody knows. Jesus
Yeah.
walked on water. But the esoteric
Yeah.
is a whole different ballgame.
But I don't meet so many Christians though, uh, because Sweden is like the most atheistic country in the world, you know.
Right.
So, but
Is that one of the so-called facts? If
yeah,
I googled it, would it say that?
yeah, I think so. I think so.
Right.
Unless Islam has become a bit stronger, then we might not be the most atheistic country like
Yeah. Well,
before.
that's the only reason
But
because you get so
otherwise, yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
I think you will find it on Google.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, uh, what line do you want to read next?
This line. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Albert Einstein.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is the faithful servant. Ah, yeah. Now, I often speak in my videos about intuition is the language of God.
yeah,
God being the cosmos, the highest of the high. Of course, that's what
yeah,
God means, the highest of the high. And so it isn't an Allah, it isn't a Jehovah, it isn't a Yahweh, it's none of those. It's the mind of God, it's consciousness, it's the cosmos. It's all that which we have absolutely no comprehension of. And so, of course, it's God to us. So yeah, the intuition. That's how I discovered God. That's how I discover any knowledge. That's what I speak about when I speak about how to know if the akasha exists. It's via your intuition, and when you become absolutely still and you train your mind into living in that vibration, living in the vibration of the cosmos, then you are much more liable to receive the information from the akasha or the collective unconscious or the collective consciousness. And so and if you're going to be spoken to by cosmic intelligence, then you're not going to hear it in your ears and that you're going to intuit it. And so in the book, again, I speak about intuiting, these supernatural beings because if you're tuned into your intuition, you can feel, you can know things a priori. You don't have to have any reason why you know things. You can just know them. Why? Because it's like when you're on mushrooms, you just know shit.
yeah,
Yeah, where does that stuff come from? The unconscious, the collective unconscious, God, the mushroom God, who knows?
yeah.
But we know that it's absolutely, correct when we're hearing this stuff.
Yeah.
Next line.
Yes. Here is on page 586. Many years ago, it was speculated that people were much more finely tuned to the natural ways of the cosmos and its phenomena. Abilities like telepathy
Telepathy,
were, yeah,
when you can speak with
telepathy.
each other without speaking.
Yeah, exactly. I just got the wrong
Yeah.
pronunciation. Telepathy weren't ruled out. So to imagine that our ancestors were vastly better equipped to listen to their intuition and communicate with entities in subtle parallel dimensions of consciousness shouldn't be too much of a stretch of our logical reasoning.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now, when we get involved with deep esoteric stuff, when we get involved with mythology, when we get involved with spirituality and Egyptology and the ancient cultures from all over the world, we get involved with this stuff.
Yeah.
because people were always writing about it, and some of it was saved, and some of it has been replicated and studied, and that's why some of us can read these such volumes of information speaking about all this stuff that I've just reeled off a few lines. The vast majority I haven't even heard of because it's so old and it's so deep.
Mm.
But bringing all that stuff together, and of course, like most good books, they speak about all this information, then they'll come to some sort of conclusion at the end. And so I'm desirous to get to the conclusion, but I am not being hasty in my pursuit, because I'll be a fool to myself if I'm rushing through. I have to concentrate and I have to absorb all this stuff and try to understand it the best I can.
Yeah. Yeah, and also that the people were more intuitive in the past shows how people have fallen from that aspect, the more spiritual aspect of being a human.
Yeah, well, because when we look into how we lived, thousands of years ago, we were vastly less distracted. We were
Yeah,
very, very close with nature. We were very close with our tribe. We knew everybody. We knew the intricacies and all the idiosyncrasies of everybody around us. When we lived in like small groups of like 300, which is kind of like the ideal size of a little community. uh, you wouldn't not know anybody. Everybody would know everybody, of course. And
yeah,
then when you're sitting under the stars and you're doing your rituals and you're taking entheogens, whatever you're doing, people are experiencing different stuff. You're talking about your dreams and everything. You see, this is the sort of stuff that I'm trying to bring back from people, because
yeah,
nobody talks about it anymore. So I say to my viewers, hey, dead cunts. I've tried to be nice to you all these times, and I've tried to say, oh, what do you think? What do you feel? What's your experience? But it doesn't work, does it? So in the end, I have to go, hey, fucking wankers, dead cunts. Are you fucking dead or alive? What have you got to say about this video? What dreams have you had? And
yeah,
then, some people will go, "Oh, I'm awake now," and they'll start telling me their dreams, and that's it, that's it. Amazing stuff. It's brilliant stuff. How we enter into the collective unconscious, and we dream similar sort of crazy shit. Do we actually go into other dimensions of consciousness? Do we actually travel to parallel worlds? Quantum physicists reckon that there's infinite dimensions and cosmoses and universes, and and all this, that, and the other. And I can't see any reason why there wouldn't be, because it most certainly answers where we go when we go into these crazy fucked up dreams.
yeah,
Because when we look at the many worlds hypothesis, and they say that our new cosmos, our new universe is created every time something happens, which is reasonably major. It's not like whether I pick this glass up and say cheers or not. That's not going to change the cosmos or the universe. It's not going to build one, but something a little bit more significant. If I should walk out and break my leg, maybe, then one character will go into the other universe which didn't break his leg, and this character will stay in this universe which did break his leg. And I speak in the book about a scuba diving experience I had, where I considered that I had died, and I felt like I had died for 2 whole weeks, and it was very, very surreal. And I was now a new avatar in this world, and I died in the last world. You got to go figure when you absolutely intuitively are convinced that happened. Why do we get these feelings? What's all that about? And then when you hear, all this different sort of mystical stuff, and other dimensions and spirits and other lives and quantum physics and all that, well, you go, well, there you go. You see, because look, if I wasn't educated in all these realms, then what would I think? I would have no choice but just to pass it off, wouldn't I? I'd go, wow, it's just the mind's just thinking bullshit. But when you do know about many, many other people's perspective of these same things happening, then you put the pieces together and you go, must be something. Must be
Yeah.
something. There must be some truth in these parallel universes of consciousness and all that, because we can't just rely. You see, what's interesting about physics these days, Andree, is that they are starting to lend themselves towards what people were speaking about for thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting to speak about it's a simulation, and
Yeah.
it's all created by mind, and it's all God and it's all idealism. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
people were speaking about that thousands of years ago, but now physicists are starting to write all their squiggly shit and try to explain it,
Yeah.
and take it credibly.
Yeah. Yeah. So the snake is biting its tail. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're eventually coming round after
Yeah.
poo-pooing, all these so-called ancient fools because they're stupid.
Yeah.
The point is, look, it is readily accepted that some of the most cleverest people on the planet lived 2,000 years ago. All these Greek philosophers that can't be surmounted today. Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates, and the likes. There's just so many of them, and so they weren't stupid. They were more in tune,
Yeah.
and more intelligent than us in many, many ways. The only
Yeah.
difference these days, we think we're more intelligent because we can put a few fucking keys into a computer and we can get all the information that's out there in the cosmos. And we think, oh, we're intelligent. We're not. We're dumb as
No,
fuck.
it's outsourced intelligence, so to
Yeah.
speak.
All right, we've got 5 minutes left before we're up to 2 hours on this, Andree.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got one more line.
One more line here. Yeah. What do on page 587? Uh, yeah. Yes. What do we do if we want to feel as if we have a little insight into how the cosmos actually is? We choose a theme of belief, science, religion, mysticism, or phenomena, and we settle with it. If we don't want to just settle on something that brings us comfort, then we will continue with our investigation openly, professing that the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know.
Yes. So, what I'm saying there is the vast majority of people, because it's too complex, it involves too much time, and people, in this day and age, are too busy. If they're going to be with their faces in books, then what point is there knowing about, mysticism or phenomenology and all this sort of stuff? They're going to channel their energy into something that's going to be paying the bills, aren't they? So that's where people are today.
Yeah,
They're only reading and consuming stuff which is absolutely essential to them paying their bills.
yeah,
And so they settle for Jesus, they settle for Allah, they settle for Muhammad, they
yeah,
settle for the world is round, and all this scientism.
yeah, and
Um,
superficiality, and
yeah,
also the exoteric stuff. It becomes them because they have no time to delve deeper than the like the shell that
yeah. So
Instead
therefore,
of
it all
so to
becomes
speak.
woo-woo because they don't know nothing about it, because they don't know anything about anything, to be fair.
Yeah,
The only things they know about is following the carrot, which is the fiction of their life. Oh, come this way, come this way. When you go
yeah,
through this indoctrination, then you'll be clever and you'll know this, and you can get this job, and you can go after this house. It's chasing one
yeah,
carrot after the next, after the next, after the next. And by the time they're like 70 years old and they look at themselves, and if they picked up a book like this, they'd go, "What the fuck is this Chinese? I don't know what the fuck they're talking about." Did it come from a different cosmos? Yes, it did. It came from a different cosmos than you've been living in all your lives. And that's the fact of it. So everybody's beguiled and indoctrinated and deceived, and they don't know anything about what they are, what this thing is. They've never even tried to imagine or contemplate what it is. And that's what my two videos, if you get time, the two videos I put up today, you might find those interesting.
yeah,
And then I've got two more, which I'll put up after this video tomorrow. But they're addressing, this sort of stuff and asking people, do they want to think? Do you want to think, or do you just want to be a dummy all your lives? Because you're watching my videos, I'm assuming that you want to think. So here you are. I'm helping you think a little bit more.
yeah,
Yeah. And so then I say, well, help me to learn a little bit how you're thinking. Because if you don't put any fucking thing down, then I'm just talking to myself, aren't I?
you're right. Yeah, I will try to put those two videos in watch later, so I will watch them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I don't watch that many videos nowadays. It just is like it is.
Yeah. But you see, you're a man of leisure. You have lots of time to do that.
Yeah.
Don't you feel as if you have to know all this stuff? Because if you just you go to the gym and you go walking and you're all casual. Well, what are you doing? What are you
Uh,
doing with your life?
I feel that I am exploring something all the time. I talk to my friends and so on, do some exploration. Sometimes we talk for a couple of hours. Sometimes I have something within me that I try to grapple with and understand and so on. That yeah, it's always complex.
Mm,
It's very complex. I go from feeling pretty well and often very well, but so sometimes I shift pretty fast.
yeah.
So uh,
So, well, you've almost finished the epic Closer to God, which is a major achievement. And
yeah,
our next conversation, what page are we starting on?
we are starting on page 608 in next conversation.
And that's in chapter 25. Is the cosmos a simulation?
Yeah,
So you've gone in at 608. Um, Okay, well, what I'll do next time, then I'll introduce them to the beginning of chapter 25, speaking
yeah,
about the cosmos simulation, and then you can get into the nitty gritty a bit further along.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then we're heading towards the grand finale of what I conclude about the nature of reality.
yeah.
By the way, without giving the game away, did you agree with that? Do you think or feel something similar, or do you have a different perspective?
On the coming chapter, so to speak.
Yeah, and what I conclude the nature of reality to be.
Uh, it's hard to really say what the nature of reality is. It is what it is. Often is my way of seeing it. It could be so many different ways. And I rather just cut it down to what I have in front of me.
Hmm.
So Yeah, it might be a simulation. Yeah, probably in a way, because it wouldn't be anything strange if it was. Everything is written beforehand. It just sounds like it's more like a,
Oh, goodness
computer
me.
thing.
Sorry to
But
cut you short. My doorbell's going.
okay,
So
okay,
we'll
sorry.
continue this on the next conversation, yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
So let me know when you're ready, and we'll hit off again then.
yeah.
For
I'm probably ready tomorrow.
okay. Oh,
Yeah,
tomorrow. Well, it might be a bit early. Give me voice a
yeah,
rest. Give me
okay.
a couple of days then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's say Friday, maybe,
Yeah.
or Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, Friday,
Yeah.
earliest Friday.
Super cool. All right, Andre. Been a pleasure,
Yeah.
mate. As always. See you
You
soon.
too, mister.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.